Hello and welcome again to my new YouTube channel. Today I have been trying to figure out what to kind of begin with because there's just so many things that I've always wanted to share or talk about but just never trusted my voice or believed I could do it. And so I guess I've written a few things down about video ideas and what I kind of want to present. But I think one of the best places to start is literally just talking about my life. So kind of thought I could brush over where I come from, school life, home life, and kind of show how I've come into this person that I am today. Even just to get to this point where I'm at now, to be able to talk about it has been an incredible journey. I've been through a lot of different circumstances and I definitely didn't grow up in your average household. So I guess to start, something that's pretty crazy about me is I have 7 sisters. So just that alone is quite a crazy thing to grow up with, and I'm very close with all my sisters. I love them so much. I'm about number 5 in that mix, so kind of in the middle there. The eldest one is 38 and the youngest one is 19, so bit of a range. And if you don't know, I am 27. I grew up in a small town in New Zealand called Te Awamutu, and I actually do love TA. Like, I think it's a pretty cute little town. It's just, you've got kind of like 2 choices. You're either a farmer or a crackhead. Or a farmer crackhead. So yeah, I was out of there as soon as I could. But while I was there, I went to 5 different primary schools, because growing up I actually was chronically and quite severely bullied at all the schools I went to. From about 5 years old, I couldn't stop talking and I was very easily distracted, as we didn't know at this time, but I have ADHD. And so I was just kind of casted off as a naughty kid, and other students then found me annoying. And I also was a little bit of an ugly duckling. So it was a perfect combination for bullying. And I was even bullied by teachers and had a lot of trouble fitting in, and it just didn't make sense to me why I didn't at the time. I changed primary schools 5 times, and that definitely took a toll as well on making friends, because every time you'd make some, you'd move. I went to Puhui Primary School first, and I actually had some friends there and it was quite cool. And then we moved away. I moved to Pukeatua School, and I had a lot of trouble there. I had one, so I was moved up a class for being too smart and learning at a pace different than people my own age. I was so bullied at the school that I stood up for a girl once and she said, "Ooh, don't stand up for me," because I was that outcast. And one time it was sports day and no one picked me as their partner, and so I started crying, of course, and actually the teachers just said, "Oh, don't worry about her, she's just being a sook," which was quite devastating at that age. I didn't want to go to school, but I also had quite a rough home life. My family is amazing and I love them very much, but during this age they were doing things that they probably shouldn't have been doing, and it definitely caused a lot of hardship in the home. So it wasn't safe at school and it wasn't really safe at home either, and just very turbulent. So there was no stability in my life. And then we moved to my school again because that school got so bad. I had actually moved to a school called Parawera School, actually not too far from that school, but the Te Reo class had actually shut down, so a lot of people pulled their kids out of the school. And there was actually only 8 students in the entire school when I went. So it was interesting, and I had a very good friend there, and we used to steal the stickers from the office because there was no teachers around, and there was one bully at the school, but because we were friends, me and this other girl, it like fended it off. And I actually liked that school. And then we had to move again, and I had to go back to my other school, Puhui, and it was an interesting thing going back. All the kids that I was friends with kind of outcasted me for coming back in and being different again. And this is when I started to really turn as a kid. I went to school one day and I really hated going to school, hated it. And the teacher, my mum had been telling the school that I was sick, so I didn't have to go. So when I go back to school, one of the teachers told me I had to put my jersey on because I was sick. And I told her, no, I'm not putting my jersey on. And she said, I have to. And I put it on. And as soon as she walked out the room, I took it off. And she actually came back in the room as I was taking it off. And I said, I'm not listening anymore. I was so sick of being bullied and pushed, and everything was so unstable in my life that I told her, fuck you, pretty much. And my mum had to come get me from school. And I just remember something switching in my brain about being so angry at everybody that I changed. And then I wasn't at that school very much longer, and we moved into town, and I went to Te Aomuru Primary, and things were okay there. I then went to intermediate, and I had a lot of trouble there as well. I started hanging out with some people that smoked, and I started wagging and just really sicking it to everybody. Just over us. Listening to Tupac and Eminem in my headphones and really just wanting to get out of there. Then I went to college, and this is when it got really, really bad for me. On my first day of school, I remember clearly 2 girls coming up to me. I won't name them, but I would love to, but I'm not petty. And I had no idea who they were. Absolutely no idea. It's my first day. I've always been quite outcast. I had a couple of friends at intermediate, but I definitely had no idea what was going on. And they came up to me on my first day and said, you've been talking shit about me and my boyfriend. And I just looked at her like gobsmacked, like, excuse me, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she's like, don't play dumb with me, blah, blah, blah. I'm just started, it's my first day, I have no fucking idea what's going on. And these are seniors. And they stepped me out on my first day and told me that they're gonna bash me if they hear me talking about that again. And at this point I had absolutely no fucking idea what was going on. And honestly, from that day, there was nothing but horrible trouble for me at Te Amo to college. I didn't realize at this time, I had anger issues growing up, of course, coming from quite a traumatic household, and having something like ADHD and OCD without being diagnosed. So, no help or understanding. I was quite impulsive and I made a lot of very poor decisions. But overall, a lot of the times that I ran into trouble were over things that actually had nothing to do with any of the things that I had done. I actually got gang bashed once and also beaten up several times. Also things thrown at me for absolutely no reason because I just was really hated. Then I started making even more poor decisions because all I really wanted was love and validation. And that's where I thought that I was getting that from somewhere like sex or drugs or something like that. So I became addicted to weed. That gave me comfort, and I also made a lot of very impulsive decisions with sex because it was one of the things that I thought were giving me some sort of love or validation. But I was quite a messed up kid and I made a few mistakes to my friends, and I apologize for that. But overall, the stuff that happened to me during that time was really horrible, and I still can't even understand why a lot of that kind of stuff happened to me. Excuse me. But I am overall grateful for all of that stuff because it helped shape me into who I am today. I was also so fucked up about what people thought of me that I would suck my stomach in as I walked, and I couldn't leave the house with no makeup on, and I'd straightened my hair 10 times before leaving the house and was genuinely petrified of annoying people and not fitting in. And I would have done anything to fit in with any group of people, and I kept hanging out with different friend groups trying to find where I fit in, and I never fit in anywhere. As I'm older now, I'm so fucking thankful that I didn't fit in anywhere because I wasn't supposed to. Looking back, the amount of times I would do something just to fit in, whether it started smoking, saying that I like a certain type of music, doing something that I didn't want to do, whatever it was, I would do to be accepted, to feel some sort of validation. And it's so far from who I am now. It feels crazy to think that's how I lived for the entirety of my teen years. I have worked very, very, very hard on self-confidence. My last year at school, I was going to drop out, and something happened in me where I realized I need to change. I need to start doing things for me. And so I stood up to my bullies for the first time ever. And I was just like, they tried to come stick me out, and I was just like, come on then. And they were like, whoa, psycho. And then just walked off. And I was like, oh my God, why didn't I do that before? And then a lot of the girls that beat me up got suspended. and I could actually go to school. And in year 11, finally, I got to pick the subjects that resonated with me. One thing I got told in year 10 was that if I keep going the way that I'm going, that I'm going to fail and achieve nothing with my life. I got told that exact sentence. And in year 11, I came back to school and got top year 11 student for my achievements, because I got excellence and merit in most of my subjects, because I actually didn't need school. And I turned around my life, and it was quite an incredible feat, I think, and after going through everything that I had been through and just taking control and changing and deciding to put myself first and really apply myself after so much trouble and not wanting to be in that environment for so long. And thankfully I did. It was really a great thing. I did all the subjects that I really love, which have actually helped me in my path now. So after all of that stuff, I also have some experiences that were not very nice with weed. So I quit school and was still smoking and selling weed. It was one of the only things that kind of got me through, and I needed it to feel okay, and it helped me, all those things. And I did it all day, every day pretty much. And I had an experience, very unfortunate experience, where I was actually selling it and I turned up at the wrong place at the wrong time, and there was actually a raid planned on the home, and I was the only one that had anything on them. And at the time, it was one of the worst days of my life. They took all my stuff, all my money. A friend of mine actually, well, someone I thought was a friend, actually took my bag with all my money in it. And it was quite devastating, actually. It was a wake-up call I needed, because then I realized that, none of that stuff really was helping. If anything, it was making my life just worse. And so that happened to me, and I decided to do something else to change my life. I thought I was doing better and all these things, but I was still going down the wrong path. I then decided to try something different, and I got offered to do a modeling pageant. And I said no at first, because I thought, oh no, I could never do something like that. And I got an extra push. Thank you so much, Jay Peterson. Amazing. And I actually got Miss People's Choice. And I know that small achievements really showed me that I can do things that I thought that I couldn't do. And it really set something off in me to discover new parts of myself. After that, I got offered my first photo shoot. And that first photo shoot really blew me away. I actually hated most of the photos. I was so self-critical. Anyone that bullied me has no idea how horrible I was to myself. I used to look at myself in the mirror and say, I fucking hate you. That's what I'd say, because I just hated me. I didn't understand why I did the things I did. I hated what I looked like, and I was so nasty to myself. So anyone that was being nasty to me didn't realize that I was also being nasty to me. And when I did that first photo shoot, I saw one photo that made me say something nice to myself. And it just triggered something so beautiful inside me to do it again. Because I said, I know I can do better than this. I'm going to do it again. I can see, I want them all to look like that one photo. And so I did another one. I got offered another one. And this time I put some styling outfits together. I styled some outfits and put them together, and that one really opened me up. That one was so special because I portrayed a lot of emotion in the images that I wanted to, and it really blew me away. Like, it's something that just opened me right up, and I just was hooked. And this is the first step to my self-confidence building. I never thought that I would do something like this, and this is why something that you have to do. Confidence doesn't just come to you. Confidence is something that is built with action, and you have to give things a go. Things that you think you will not be good at, or that is something that you wouldn't like, because I really didn't think I was going to like it or be able to do it. And it is something that changed my life completely. And thanks to that person reaching out for my first ever photo shoot, because yeah, I wouldn't be who I am right now without it. I then fell in love and became hyper focused on modeling, and I just couldn't stop. I just went and did every photo shoot that I could possibly do to keep improving. And at this point I was still very critical of myself, but I loved it and I wanted to be better. And so I did. I focused and really honed in on that craft, which actually helped me become more confident, more kind, better, really caring about myself. And then in turn, that helped me realize that if I can do that, I can do anything. And what my biggest passion in my life was, something that I loved anyway, was music. And so I realized that I can do that too. I can go for it. I just decided I'm gonna do it. And I went to my mum's, and she'd been asking me a couple of times to give it a go, and I always said no, because if you didn't know, my mum's actually a DJ. And I decided, that's it, I'm doing it, and I could just do it. I could naturally just do it. And she said, of course you can, because you grew up with it. For those that also don't know, I grew up in a very musical family. My sister can sing beautifully. My stepdad is a drummer. My actual dad is a beautiful guitar player, and yeah, my mother's a DJ. So I naturally had the flow and timing of it instilled into me from birth. So that day I realized I have to do this. Something just changed for me. And it actually wasn't until about a year later, that I actually started DJing properly. And I did the same thing as I did with modeling. I just hyper focused on it, and I practiced every single day, sometimes up to 6 hours a day. It'd be like 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours at night. And I just couldn't get off the decks. And I used to keep my decks in the car. So if I went somewhere and they wanted me to play, I was like, oh, I've got the decks if you want. I just couldn't stop. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say all of this stuff to kind of show that this self-confidence that I have now is fully self-taught and created from scratch, from very poor circumstances. And that if I can do this, then you can do it as well. It's just takes self-reflection, taking responsibility for yourself, not letting other people's shit bring you down, allowing yourself to have emotion around it, but saying, no, I'm still going to do this anyway. Yeah, so I guess that's the point of this video anyway, is to just kind of let people have some deeper insight, and that you can do it. You hear it all the time, but there really is light at the end of the tunnel. But it does take self-reflection, yeah, and taking responsibility. I think going forward, I will mainly be talking about the positive side of the self-confidence, but yeah, I guess life has both sides, so I need to share all of this background to kind of understand a little bit deeper. And that's only just scratching the surface on my life, so I'm pretty sure I'll touch base on a lot more as I go along. Let me know if these kind of stories are what you want to hear. There's so many stories in between all of that stuff that have helped shape me, but I feel like I can probably kind of cover little bits here and there as I go, telling stories about my life and make them not so heavy, I guess. Yeah, I just don't want it to come across like I'm looking for validation, more just letting people know that they're not alone, and that, yeah, if I can come from these kind of stories in life, then anything is possible.